my name is Stella, and I'm the owner of Critter Sitter Connection, Kansas City's pet sitting service. I'm here today to instruct you in PetTech CPR, and this is my assistant Bobby. He's going to stay here and look really cute. So, a bit about me. What got me into this is a passionate love for animals, and kind of like Almira, I think is her name, that cartoon character where she's going to love and hug and squeeze them to pieces. I just love the doggies. So I knew that I had a gift for animal communication and that was what I wanted to do for my career. But, you know, to be perfectly honest, in the beginning I was not a professional pet sitter. I was a hobby pet sitter who just really, really loved animals. Now, I had some training. You know, I went to school for biology and chemistry, so I had some basic training, but it wasn't directed towards animal first aid or animal care. And I just want to tell you, it takes a lot more than just loving your pet to be able to be a good pet parent. And that's why you're all here today, is to learn how to be the best pet parent that you can be, or the best pet care professional that you can be. Sometimes it goes against your loving intuition, what you really need to do to be a good pet parent. Because sometimes we're going to want to put them up on our lap, and sometimes we're going to want to read their body language when they want to get down off the table so that they don't jump down and hurt their little legs. But you're not going to want to put them on your lap in a car, even though it might seem like, oh, I love them too much, I'd never put them in a crate. Well, then get them a seatbelt harness, because they need to be secure. I tell this story about how I got started in the pet sitting business. I had an old beat up Ford truck, and I went to every single place in the area, and I passed out business cards, and I got 2 clients that had me doing their afternoon pet walks. And then I said, okay, I made some magnets. They said, hounds around town, and for $5 I'll come pick your puppy up and put him in the back of my truck, and we'll go to the dog park and play all day, and I'll bring him back. Now I know how crazy that sounds. Back then I just thought, I love dogs, I can do this, this is great, I'll make $30 in a day. And I was gifted with animal communication to where I knew the pack dynamics and how to make sure the dogs got along, and I could train them to stay in the back of the truck within minutes so that nobody was jumping out. But it's not realistic, it's not safe, it's not in their best interest, and it's definitely not professional. So as time has moved on, I've grown a lot. I've realized you can't just do what seems like, oh, I love them, I'm a farm girl, I grew up riding in the back of a pickup truck, they'll be fine. No, they won't. So I don't do things like that anymore, and now I'm here instructing this pet tech course, and I'm going to walk you through the basics of CPR. We've talked about the assessments, and we've talked about, you know, how to assess the scene, and you're going to see me doing that here. When you think a dog is injured, you want to quickly, in the first 12 seconds, ascertain whether or not this dog is breathing and initiate CPR if they're not breathing. I'm going to go through that with you, and I'm going to go through when they're not breathing, what to do, when to check for a pulse, how many rescue breaths. You're going to see me doing 30 compressions for every 2 rescue breaths. You're going to see that I continue that for 2 minutes prior to taking the first pulse. And this has changed. How many of you have already been trained in human or animal CPR? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you were trained prior, maybe they taught you 15 compressions for 2 breaths. And that has changed. One of the reasons for that is because when you're compressing, you know, even if you're doing your exercises and you're spinning your body back and forth, you know, I'm not going to have you stand up and spin, but without breathing, when you compress your lungs, you force air out, you force air in. So just by doing the compressions, you're breathing for the dog. Now that may not be enough breath to sustain life, so every 30 compressions, we want to make sure and breathe for them. Also, you don't know if that dog is unconscious because he's choking on something, so you may want to, if it's not forcing it out, you may want to breathe and push that object down. If it goes into the lungs, you know what, we'll get it out at the vet. This kind of pet tech care is for prior to going to the veterinary office. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you what you would do if you come upon a dog. You want to assess the scene. You want to, you know, really take that part seriously, because you don't know. You just take a minute, look, breathe, remember the training that you get today. Make sure you don't let your instinct take over to just run up on the dog. So I'm assessing the scene. I'm making noise so that I'm approaching from behind. I'm making some noise so that if the dog is conscious, he'll feel the vibrations, he'll make some movement, and I'll know if he's conscious. I'm going to say, "Doggy, doggy, are you okay?" I'm going to stomp. And then I'm going to, there's no movement from the dog. I'm going to use all my senses. I'm going to listen. I'm going to look for any signs of breath. I'm doing this slow right now to instruct, but this is a really fast thing. It's more like the time is in assessing the scene, and then, "Doggy, doggy, are you okay?" And you want to feel here. You want to check and see if there's any movement or any pulse. There's not. This dog is not breathing. You want to call out for help. You have resources at your disposal that you may not know. There may be somebody else who's trained in Pet CPR. You don't want to do Pet CPR the whole time by yourself. You're going to get tired. It's easy on this squishy dog, but on a real dog with a real rib cage, it takes effort to push. So, help, help, I need some help. I have a dog down. Dog is not breathing. You're going to want to initiate CPR. And initiating CPR, you put your right hand out in the shape of an L. You take your left hand and you make a fist and you put a little crick in your wrist. You tuck it right up under here. And then this hand is in the puppy pit and around your wrist. Your arm is the guide for you to go up and down. You're not pushing with your whole body. Pushing with your whole body is going to exhaust you even more. So you're going to be here. And you're going to go ahead and do the 30 compressions. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28, 29, 30. And you're going to keep your hands on the dog while you're checking. You'll come up here. And you're going to pull the tongue out past the canines. Take a quick look. Give a breath. Oh, you want to be sure that you secure the seal around the muzzle before you give the breath. You're going to see me giving the breath off to the side. But of course, we're going to actually breathe into the nose. When you assess the dog, you want to make sure that the airway is open. You want to you feel the dog and make sure that you raise their head to open their airway. And that's also true when you're trying to put air in. If their airway is closed off, the air is not going to go in. So let me just go back a little bit to make sure that we get this. I may be I'm confusing you with stepping things out of order a little. So we're here, we put our hand up, we've got the L, we know we're on the right part of the dog, we're here. You can always check that the elbow is pointing towards the heart so that you know where to do your compressions. You do the 30, 1, 2, 3, 28, 29, 30. You keep your hands on the dog. You make sure you pull the tongue out past the canines. You take a quick look, and then you make a tight seal. If the tongue is out past the canines and you make a tight seal, you may make this dog bite his tongue. But that's not as important as the dog not breathing. So go ahead and make the tight seal. And give it a breath. You want to watch for the rise and fall of the chest when you give that breath. You want to make sure that the air is going in. If there's no rise and fall in the breath, for the second breath you want to adjust the head a little bit. Maybe you don't have the windpipe open. So watch for the rise and fall. Give a second breath. Watch for the rise and fall. Go right back into your compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28, 29, 30. Keep your hands on the dog. Back up here. Pull the tongue out past the canines. Take a quick look. Make a tight seal around the muzzle and breathe into the nose. Watch for the rise and fall. Another breath. Watch for the rise and fall. When you're doing these compressions, it's quick. It's slowed down now because we're learning. But when you do these compressions, I want you to think of like the spirit clap. Because it's actually more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's fast. And that's because that is the beats per minute of the heart, and we're trying to kickstart that heart and get their heart back beating and pumping the oxygen through their blood. We do the pumping before the breathing also because there's already some oxygen in the blood. Depending on how long they've been here, there should be some oxygen in the blood. So we just want to pump it and move it through and then give the breaths. There's 2 minutes where you're going back and forth between giving the compressions, 30 quick compressions, 2 breaths. 30 quick compressions and 2 breaths. And each time you're pulling that tongue past the canines, taking a quick look, making a seal, and doing 2 breaths, watching for the rise and fall. Once your 2 minutes is up, and you may need to time yourself because in the heat of the moment, you might not know what is 2 minutes. Time slows down. If you've ever been in a car accident, it can seem like it's been 2 hours and it's been 1 minute. So imagine if you're trying to time 1 minute in an emergency, you might do 30 and be like, oh, that has to have been 2 minutes, but it may really have only been 15 seconds. You might have to go 4 rotations in order to get to that 2 minutes because time is really slowed down. So be sure that in your practicing and as we go through the course, set a stopwatch, time yourself, look at your phone, see doing it the right speed, even if you're not doing it exactly right, see how many it takes you to do, how many in 4 minutes, or in 2 minutes, excuse me, so that you get the idea. I can do 3.5, I can do 6, I can do 4, I can do 1 because I'm, still learning. Get an idea of where you are as you progress and time yourself again later after you've mastered the information. I'm going to do the 30 compressions, I'm going to do the 2 breaths. 2 minutes are going to go by before I take the first pulse. When you're ready to take the pulse, you're here. Okay, you've got your dog here, you've given a breath, you've watched for the rise and fall. You're not pinning them down, but you do have a little bit of gentle where you can tell if they wake up, if they're moving. You can use all of your senses. You're going to cross your arm over to take the pulse. Because again, if this dog wakes up, you're right here where you need to be to secure this animal. You're going to feel for the pulse in the femoral artery here underneath the leg. That's all for this portion of this, so thank you all for coming, and there'll be another instructor with more to come.